obviously, spoiler warning for the Wano arc of One Piece. There are 47 Zone Devil Fruits in One Piece, 9 of which are ancient zones, and all 9 are, of course, held by the Beast Pirates, of course, which is why it is a gigantic spoiler for the Wano arc of One Piece. I am going to rank the 9 ancient zone Devil Fruits, what they would be like for the average person. Of course, the average person isn't going to be as powerful as someone like King or Queen, right? So they can't just rely on their sheer strength to use them like King did. However, it's pretty clear that some of these are just better than the others. Starting at number 9, the Neko Nomi model saber tiger, which was eaten by Who's Who. Now, if you have any understanding of basic like animals, you understand that mammals are naturally weaker than dinosaurs were, which of course there are 2 mammals, 1 insect, and 6 dinosaurs, or 6 reptiles, on from the pool. Who's Who also he was relatively strong. He fought Jinbei. However, he was a master of the 6 powers or Rokushiki, and he used that for his Fang pistol attack, which is similar to the finger pistol that the CP9 members were using, but because of his double fruit, of course, he uses it like that. Um, he was on par with Jinbei. Obviously, they fought. Jinbei won. However, I believe this is still one of the least powerful of the 9. Effectively, it's just a large cat. That's what a Smilodon was. It had very large fangs. For practicality uses, it's no different than most other uh, large cat devil fruits, similar to Lucci's fruit. Um, of course, like I'm saying, it did give him large fangs. It's technically stronger than Lucci's fruit, of course, being an ancient zone. However, compared to the other 8, it's definitely the worst. And at number 8, of course, like I said, I have the Nomi model mammoth. Of course, it was eaten by Jack, and technically speaking, Jack is stronger than most of the other characters on this list. However, I'm going based on their devil fruit, not the character themselves. Um, what can I say? He's just a giant elephant. Elephants are incredibly powerful. They have giant tusks. Practicality wise, again, he is a giant elephant. He's not going to be able to move very fast. It's not very useful in confined spaces. And it's just not as useful as all the other ones. Uh, Jack didn't have any special abilities that the regular Zoofruit didn't had, aside from just being a larger thing. So I don't believe it really matches up to these other ones, especially the fact that some of them do have special abilities, which is very weird considering they're just zones. They're just ancient zones. They're not mythical. They're not Paramecia. They're not Logia. So I believe, again, the Mammoth Fruit is definitely the 8th best one. At 7th, I have the Kumo Nomi model, Rosie Miguel Gravogelli. Yeah, that's a mouthful. This is the last of the 9 that are not reptiles or dinosaurs, technically. Um, but I still believe it's above the other 2, specifically because if all of them are making you stronger, it really does depend on the special abilities that they have. And this one has a lot of them. Because you're a spider, you have multiple legs, which means multiple arms. Black Maria was a bit weird with it in her hybrid form, I will be honest, where she would be on top of it rather than like a mixture like the others. It was definitely weird, and it's because of like alterations she had, if I remember correctly. But it allowed her to, well, shoot incredibly like strong spider webs, which of course is more useful than just being a big hulking, you know, elephant or a big tiger. I guess it's not a tiger, but still. Um, I believe that this is pretty. I believe these 3 are pretty fair. I don't think there's any contention that it should go this way. The spider, then the mammoth, then the tiger. I think the next 6 are definitely a lot more in contention based on what you believe, but like I said, it's not based on the strength of the character using them because, of course, Jack is the 3rd strongest. He's the part of the calamities. So of course, if we're talking in a power level of these characters, Jack should be the third strongest. However, I don't believe that his Devil Fruit is particularly that powerful. At number six, I have the Ryu Nomi model Allosaur. I believe that the contention between the Allosaur and the Spinosaurus fruit is pretty close. However, if we're going off the literal dinosaur itself, an Allosaur is less powerful than a Spinosaurus, and they relied on pack tactics to fight rather than a Spinosaurus relying on its sheer size and it being an aquatic predator. Um, that being said, Allosauruses were very, very dangerous to back in their time. They had specialized skulls that made them incredibly, incredibly powerful with their bites, even though they were not as large as many other dinosaurs. And again, I have been saying, the reptiles are stronger, but this is probably the least useful of them because it's just the average, just the average theropod dinosaur. Uh, he doesn't gain any real special abilities from it. It doesn't give him any mobility. It doesn't give him anything crazy. Of course, X-Drake is, a relatively powerful character. He's about the same level as all these other characters, but he didn't really get that from his Devil Fruit more than it just being a powerful dinosaur. And if it wasn't obvious, obviously number five is the Spinosaurus fruit. Spinosaurus were gigantic. They were bigger than a Tyrannosaur. They did not have as powerful bite forces, but they were aquatic predators, which meant they are incredibly good at swimming. Uh, I know it sounds counterintuitive because it's a devil fruit. However, the fan also let them have heat regulation, and it is very, very realistic in One Piece to be caught on a desert island or be caught on a frozen island. And although it sounds stupid given that, you know, it's not really a power, it's more useful than not having it. Therefore, even though a Spinosaurus would be stronger than an Allosaur, if we're talking about sheer utility, it is just simply an upgrade over the Allosaur Devil Fruit. Page one didn't really use it in any special way, of course, but like I said, this is more just a list based on what's best for the average Joe, not based on who's going to be doing this and that. At number four, I have the Ryu model, Nomi model, uh, sorry, Pachycephalosaurus, Ulti's Devil Fruit. Again, a Pachycephalosaurus, the real ones were small, but they had powerful, skull bones that made them able to headbutt things. The thing is, because it's a devil fruit, you're not becoming smaller to become the animal. You become very large. So the size difference doesn't actually make anything. And Ulti showed very well that if she can headbutt, incredibly, incredibly powerful, even being able to knock out Luffy. And Ulti is significantly weaker than Luffy is. Like that just shows how powerful that ability is. Um, that being said, Pachycephalosaurus was not a carnivore dinosaur. Therefore, it doesn't have claws. It doesn't have like special teeth, or at least it shouldn't. However, because it's One Piece, because we're humans, we can hold weapons. Therefore, I don't hold it against the dinosaur in any way. It doesn't need built-in weapons like that when it has, again, the sheer power of that headbutt. It gives it a lot of utility, especially the fact that it's armor as well. You can block things with it, and I just think it's a lot more useful than the ones below it. So now that we're in the top three, these three have like genuine utility. It's kind of crazy what they can do, and I think it's pretty uncontested these three are the best as well. I don't know anyone that would really argue they aren't, aside from people who like can't differentiate the fact that it's the user versus the one it's the fruit itself. At number three, I have the Nomi model Brachiosaurus, eaten by Queen. Uh, these things are giant. Like, I know that Queen has modifications that allows him to use like special tools and he can fire himself out. Actually, was that even a modification? Let me reread this. Actually, no, it's, at least according to the wiki, it is just a genuine ability of the Devil Fruit that he can become a snake. Uh, that's a little weird. I don't know. I don't know what else to call it, but It's definitely another use case for it. It actually makes him smaller, which is useful. It genuinely is useful to become smaller in certain scenarios. Um, and allows him to grapple his opponents. And obviously, it's just cool. It is just a cool one. Being gigantic, he has higher, you know, defensive capabilities. He has higher offensive capabilities. These things literally caused minor earthquakes when they walked. They were so massive, the real ones. It's very valid to think that if you are just an average Joe, this is probably one of the best ones you can have. Aside, on top of the fact that just being up very high sounds really stupid, but the scouting capabilities of it are still there. It's not as great as the next two, but it's still realistically the third best option. At second best, I have the Ryu Nomi model Pterodon. That might be controversial not to put this at first because flight is so useful. Everyone likes to fly. However, if we're being realistic, Pterodon is not very strong. They were they hunted fish. They hunted small mammals that were just big enough to fit in their mouth. They were not fighters. They could not take any form of damage. The leather on their wings could rip apart from anything, and that was death. They would die because if the membrane that held their wings together ripped, they couldn't fly, they couldn't eat, they couldn't hunt, and they definitely could not heal from that. So this is definitely one of the riskiest ones to use. However, being able to fly is really cool. It's a lot more useful than any of these other ones. And that being said, I think it's pretty obvious that people like this one as well. People really like King. It's just cool looking. I don't really know what else to say about it. It definitely has the most, or some of the most utility of them all, and it's just cool. Plus, King is able to fly very fast. I think he's the fastest flyer of any of the ones that have flying devil fruits, so that's pretty useful as well. And of course, number one is the Ryu Nomi model Triceratops. What else can I say about this? It is easily the most defensive of all of them, and if you're the average Joe, defense is pretty cool. It also, of course, gives you a strength buff, pretty comparable to the rest, just based on the fact that Triceratops were freaking huge, dude. And of course, the best part about it is the fact that Sasaki can fly using it. It's not explained why. It's not said to be a modification by Queen. So that means it is simply from the Devil Fruit that he is able to fly. That is crazy. Being able to have a like Devil Fruit that makes you able to fly and it's useful in combat. The Pterodon Devil Fruit, of course, if we're talking in One Piece schemes, yeah, King, he's very powerful. He's probably fine. But if you're an average guy who has it, you're not King. You aren't immune to damage when your fire is burning, like King is. Um, so this thing gives you defensive capabilities, gives you offensive capabilities, and it gives you utility in flight. Flight is incredibly powerful in anything, every aspect. Everyone knows flight is powerful. So I think it's pretty clear to say that this is the best one. I think it's hard to argue, especially based on the fact that Sasuke was tanking blows, dude. Like this guy, he might have. Of course, he's powerful. He's a beast pirate like commander and all that. Yeah, but he was like tanking blows, dude. Like he did not seem to care about much at all. Like it was crazy. Well, there it is. My ranking of which ancient zone devil fruits I think are best for the average person. If you disagree, tell me below. I think it's pretty hard to disagree on these. I'm not gonna lie, but there's that. If you enjoy, uh, follow, like, subscribe, whatever it is. Look at my socials, and yeah, this is Color, and I'm out. Peace.